asking the questions mainstream journalists will never ask. This is your Richie Allen Show on richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, and triggerwarning.tv.
It's time to give my old mate Max Igan a ring, so let's do that. He's in Holland. You know that he's an artist. You know that he's a political activist as well. In fact, I might have to take a bit of music there because he's, or I'll just ask him to initiate the call. That might, there you go, you see. So as I said, an artist, a political activist, brilliant interpretations of political events, geopolitical events, current affairs. Been speaking to him for many years. He's in the Netherlands at the moment. Gave him a shout a bit earlier on. Told him I was doing the live show a bit earlier on today, and asked him would he come on. His website is thecrowhouse.com, by the way. Do check out the Crow House if you haven't done that. Let's say welcome back to the programme, our friend Max Igan. Welcome back, mate. How are you? And he was there, wasn't he? And now he's not. We might have hit a technical glitch there. I wonder, does he have his microphone accidentally turned off? That could be it. I wonder, can he hear me? We'll give him a second there to come in and say hello. Failing that, we'll reconnect, and we'll take some music in the meantime. In fact, we'll do that because he can hear me, but we can't hear him. Strange that, isn't it? Right. I don't know why that is. So we're going to have to take some music. We'll take some... there you are.
Hey.
You had your microphone muted, did you?
No, my microphone settings magically changed by themselves to a virtual microphone.
Good stuff. It could be the artificial intelligence that Mark Zuckerberg is talking about.
You got to love that stuff.
Isn't that amazing?
You can hear me now. Thanks for having me on, Richie. Pleasure to come and talk to you.
Not
again,
at all. You always do me. You do me plenty of favours. I would have been inviting you back on in a week or so, as we agreed when we chatted a week or so ago. But doing this earlier today, because I've got a commitment later on. We are live anyway, as it happens, and we have plenty of people on board listening to us. I can see by the old metadata. No, mate, you're welcome, and thanks for doing me a favour. Before we talk about Trump and Syria and the chemical weapon attack that probably didn't happen, but even if it did, probably had nothing to do with the government. Amazing that Mark Zuckerberg would say, in a few years' time, everything that you see, that you can see, that you post, that you can't post, will be decided by artificial intelligence. And of course, I'm very aware of the fact that I'm speaking to my old friend Max Igan, who had a conversation and has had conversations with bots. Isn't that right? We talked about this, didn't we, on a recent show? You've actually had conversations with intelligent artificial beings of sorts that have been talking to you, Max, and answering you.
Yeah, well, that's the way it's going. I mean, the whole thing is heading towards that way. I mean, people don't understand this whole IoT and what's rolling out, what the social crediting system that goes along with it. Nobody's talking about this, Richie. And as for what I can see, everybody in the activist community should be looking at this issue, because the 5G system and the IoT, the Internet of Things, when everything's connected and it's all talking to each other and everyone's paying for everything digitally, and your purchasing power is determined by your social crediting points, that's where we're all going. And this has been rolled out in China. 7.9 million people now blacklisted on the China social credit system as deemed being untrustworthy. And this is what we're seeing in all the papers that come out. I've got a paper here building the, building the nanotechnology, building the hyper-connected society. And the hyper-connected society, what they're using, the key word, of course, is to make us all safe. That's to make sure there's nobody untrustworthy in society, which is no one who thinks outside the box, no one who says anything that isn't government approved, no one who offends anybody or anything like that. So when you've got an AI system and it determines your purchasing power by how much you've offended people, and think of the political correctness and all this rubbish that they're bringing in. I mean, I may offend you by not using your chosen pronoun, Richie, and you might decide that the AI might decide that I've offended you too much and I need to have my social crediting points limited. So, they're able to limit people's purchasing power and squeeze out any free thought, any thinking outside of the box, and that's what it's all leading to. And when this happens, of course, there's no appeal process. And even the World Health Organization, they say that by the year 2020, the main cause of disability is going to be stress-related. And when you look at the IoT and social crediting, you can see where that's coming from.
I don't know if you saw the episode Black Mirror is a UK kind of a drama. It's in its third season now, and each episode is an individual story. Black Mirror, each episode is a completely different, unrelated story to the previous episode, but they're all about a dystopian future where technology is basically running things. I know you know about the show, Max. They had speaking about this social, your social status, and how did you describe it again, Max? Your social crediting, right?
So, social crediting see, this is a real system, though, Richie. This is something that they've actually got in China now. So yeah,
it's already there. Now, Charlie Brooker came up with this Black Mirror. It's a Twilight Zone type TV series. There was an episode recently about a future where everybody's carrying around a phone. And every single interaction that happens, Max, so you go out in the morning and you walk around and you buy a paper from somebody and then you get on a bus. Every time you interact with somebody, that person gives you a score based on how they felt the interaction went. So it's kind of a terrifying television show. And it follows this girl. It's fictional, obviously, but it's not. It's coming because as you've been talking about there. So they follow this girl who's got her phone. And at the moment, she's really doing well. She's really doing well, Max. She got loads of social credit. But then things start to go wrong. She has a couple of arguments with people. And they keep doing her down and they keep giving her 1 star out of 5 or 2 stars out of 5. And she suddenly finds, just as you've been talking about, that she can't get things done. She can't go places. It's unbelievable, this. And we did speak about this before. You introduced me to what was going on in China. And this is not science fiction. This is going to be science fact real soon.
Well, yeah, and that's what they're bringing in everywhere. That's the thing. People don't understand it. And with the IoT and the 5G grid as well, you've got to look at what's underlying this. I mean, the 5G grid is effectively an active denial system underlying all of that. And look, there's people up in arms about this. There's scientists, there's doctors, people all over the world are screaming out for attention, saying this is going to do incredible damage to health. We've looked at it. We know it's going to be bad. They're rolling it out without the tests. Please listen to us. And nobody's listening. And the government's just rolling it out anyway because of the enormous profits are going to be made. But underneath it is the fact that it's an active denial grid. So you think about how dystopian this future could be. I mean, when you've got the AI determining when your social credits could be limited, well, the AI can then effectively limit your movements as well by activating the active denial system. It could effectively put an active denial system around your home and lock you in your own home. It could limit your access to certain areas. I mean, all sorts of things are possible with this, apart from the damage that it's going to do health-wise. But the whole social crediting system, when you can really grasp it and really see the implications of it, if you've got, doesn't matter whether you've got Bitcoin, you can have billions of dollars in your account. Doesn't matter how much you've got in any offshore accounts or anything. If your person is limited by your political outlook, by your social crediting power, your purchasing power is limited by that. It doesn't matter how much money you've got, you can't spend it anyway. And the money's all fiction anyway. The money, they made it all up. It's just to keep us in scarcity, to keep us climbing over the top of each other to try to get to the top of the pile. It's the whole purpose of money. It's not there to provide wealth. It's there to provide scarcity. So when they bring this system in, it'll be like you say, that show on Black Mirror where everybody must think inside the box. Everybody must be perfectly polite and perfectly nice all the time. Don't rub anybody the wrong way. And as soon as you do start rubbing people the wrong way and your points start going down, it causes other people to not want to associate with you. So people like you or I, people who speak out against the government, we get limited by our social crediting power, and then we just gradually get squeezed out. And we become someone who's a little different in society, and people kind of notice you. You stand out in the crowd, you haven't got access to all the things that other people have got access to, all of this sort of stuff. So you become kind of an outlaw of the state by default. You get intentionally criminalized, even if you don't want to be, just because you thought outside the box. Another thing they've got in China now are glasses that the police can wear. These are like sunglasses, but they have facial recognition built into the sunglasses. So they can look down at a crowd of people and they can say, oh, look, there's Richie Allen over there out of those 1,000 people we've got walking in front of us. They can pick your face out of the crowd. Okay, here's the guy who's blacklisted on the social crediting system. Let's keep an eye on him. Let's go and ask him a few questions, see if we can rub him the wrong way, get him into the smart prison system. That's what it's all about, and that's how they deal with dissent. That's how they deal with anyone thinking outside of the box. It's very easy to criminalize people by default once you introduce digital currency and IoT and social crediting. And all this stuff could be great. I mean, we could have a fantastically automated society where everything ran for us. I mean, and there's nothing even wrong with having a cashless society. What's wrong with the whole thing is that underlying the entire equation is the reality that the world is run by criminals, and we're not taking that in. We're not factoring that into whatever plan we've got for the future. You know, the whole shift into this whole smart system that they're calling the new industrial revolution, and they say it's going to be as disruptive as the industrial revolution was, because, you know, we're moving into an entirely new reality here. And with the criminals that are running the world right now being the ones who are controlling that shift, we're basically moving into a new world order of dystopian proportions that Orwell and what's the other guy's name? Aldous Huxley. Never dreamed of.
Yeah.
You know, roll them together. They never dreamed of what we're even rolling into. It's beyond all nightmares of what anyone could even think of, what we're allowing to be rolled into. And once we get rolled into this, like you say, there's no appeal process. It's the AI makes up all the decisions, and it just does it. And if the machine says so, then the machine says so, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's not a future we want for humankind to be.
Absolutely not. Get everybody living online. It was fiendishly clever. People are terrified of not being online. We've talked a lot about this on recent shows with other guests. Terrified of not being online. They're online all the time, and then you can basically change their paradigm around them in the manner that you've been describing. And artificial intelligence programs will say you're a person of ill repute, and your ability to do business or to exchange becomes absolutely limited. I was thinking of you yesterday because Dan Hyde wrote an article in the Daily Mail yesterday about the bullying that's going on in this country around smart meters, Max. And it's bullying being carried out, and this is proper bullying, harassment by the big energy companies in this country. Max, Igan will know, but maybe our listener will not know, that the European Union decreed that by 2020, 8 in every 10 European households must be using these digital devices to see how much energy they're using. They use the bullshit story of climate change when they talk about it, but the tactics they're using to drive people who don't want these things in their homes into getting them, it's an absolute scandal. I was thinking about you yesterday. It's like all of this is coming to a head now, Max.
Oh, it is, absolutely. I mean, this is the new world order. This is the smart grid. This is what they want. This is what it's been about all along. This is what the whole theatrics, the global theatrics, is all about. It's about moving towards this smart system, you know, and it's all economically based, and it's all rubbish. We don't need any of it, and we just can't let them do it. All these politicians are in abusive office, Richie. They are, and the people just need to say, no, we won't have these on. We don't care what you say. This is not what we employ you to do. You know, people have got to remember what their relationship with government is. They're not your rulers. They're a bunch of people. They're just people that you put in office, and they abuse that office to give themselves powers they have no right to have. And we don't call it. We petition them. We ask them, please be a nicer slave master. No, you're in abuse of the office that you hold. Please explain why you shouldn't be charged with that. You know, it's the most serious offence a politician can carry out, is to abuse that office to delegate yourself powers that you have no right to have. And all of the health things and all the health damages that the scientists and doctors and everyone is screaming out about these meters. I've got a question for you, Mr. Politician. Who the fuck do you think you are? Because you're an employee and you're doing the wrong thing, and you need to explain yourself and show cause why you should not be held accountable for being an abuse of the office that you hold. Go and say that to those people and ask them who the hell they think they are, because they're just your employees and they're abusing their power. We don't want these things. If they say they're going to come and put it on your house, say, well, look, I'm standing here with a sledgehammer and it's going to be smashed off the wall before you get back in your car. I've put a liability notice in. I mean, go and look at the Empower movement, get one of those liability notices and lodge it as an affidavit and hold these people liable for what they're doing. We don't want this shit. They can take it back.
It's interesting what you're saying about the mandate. I mean, we see this. I've not voted in an election for a long time, because a long time ago I saw through the system and I saw what it was. It's a farce, it's a fraud, it's an illusion. And here we are today, and just as you and I are speaking, it seems that the UK Prime Minister Theresa May has spoken about Syria and about this nonsense story about chemical weapons last week, and she said in the last few minutes that because the use of chemical weapons is a humanitarian catastrophe, therefore it cannot go unchallenged. And you and I have spoken about this some years back, whether or not I vote or whether I don't vote, whether I rejected the system or whether I didn't. The fact is, the majority of people are still engaged with it. And I say to those people, when you went to vote last summer in the election, you did not give anybody a mandate to go into a sovereign country and to drop hellfire and damnation and brimstone on that country, killing tens of thousands of people, when whatever you might think that country is doing, it hasn't threatened or it hasn't harmed our country in any way. You've not given them a mandate to do that. But that's what's happening, Max. And we segue into this story today. You have the President of the United States, using the language of maybe 7-8-year-old children, talking about new smart missiles going to rain down on Damascus in the next couple of days. And you have a media today which, despite promises that after the Iraq debacle, despite promises that it wouldn't ever again let the public down and it would challenge these crazy wars, well, sadly today, Max, the UK, the French, most of the French, it must be said, and pretty much the entire US media is cheerleading and basically baiting, it's like bear baiting, the governments of the US and the UK into doing something in Syria. It's madness.
Well, it is. It's complete madness, and it's just pushing for the greater Israel project more and more, and you see all this facing off between America and Russia. It's completely ridiculous. I mean, even if America and Russia go to war, it won't be America and Russia going to war. There won't be any bombs falling in Russia. There won't be any falling in the United States. It'll be America and Russia stop blocking each other's moves in Syria and bombing the shit out of Syria and destroying Syrian infrastructure, and the Syrian people will suffer in accordance with the greater Israel project. The whole thing's theatre for the masses. It really is. Trump's acting like an idiot, and acting like a schoolboy, like you say. And if any of his supporters out there still think this guy isn't a globalist supporter, well, they've got rocks in their heads. They really have. He's just following the same agenda. It's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, how many times are they going to call gas attack in Syria, Richie?
Yeah.
This is what, the third time they've called gas attack?
The third
in Syria,
time,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's right.
Third or fourth time. And one time it was like they had to quiet it off because it was British gas that had been smuggled in there and let off by the ISIS rebels, who are actually, all being funded by the West anyway. I mean, the whole thing's a complete joke. It's a complete joke. They've been trying to pull out of Syria, looked like, for a little while, but Israel has been going in there and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And so now, of course, England and the United States have to go in there and back this Israeli war. Of course, they've already sold all the mineral rights in the top north of the country there to Israeli companies, oil rights to Israeli companies. And a company, I think Dick Cheney is on the board of one company that's bought rights for the oil in Syria. They haven't even taken over the country yet. They're already selling the oil rights, so, they can't back down in the war. They'll probably have to pay back all the oil deals that they made.
Yeah, we're talking about the Golan Heights, of course, and Israel has absolutely no right under international law to do that. And this was first announced 5 years ago. We spoke about it then.
Yeah,
it was outrageous then. It's a joke.
It's a complete joke what's going on. But the whole thing, the whole concept of war with Russia and America, again, if this happens, it'll be just an escalation of the conflict in Syria. It won't be America and Russia really going to war with each other. And if America and Russia do decide to go to war with each other, well, the White House should go and bomb the Kremlin, and the Kremlin should go and bomb the White House and leave the rest of the country out of it, because it's got nothing to do with anybody else. If these politicians want to sit there and have a big dick waving contest like George Carlin used to call it, that's what they should do. Just get in the boxing ring and do it themselves, but leave the rest of the people out of it. They're all behaving like idiots, and it's all theatre anyway, because they're not going to bomb all their infrastructure. They're not going to go bomb the United States and Russia, because you go to Russia, what's rolling out in Russia? Oh, look, it's 5G, the smart grid, the IoT. What's rolling out in the United States? The same thing. This is what Theresa May's rolling out, what Donald Trump's rolling out, what Putin's rolling out, what they're rolling out in China. They're rolling it out in every country, right across Europe. They're rolling it out everywhere. And all this whole Chinese trade system's coming online. Railroads being built right across Europe. New railroads being built down in Spain. I was just down there last week. All this stuff going on everywhere. This whole new Chinese system is coming online. The whole smart grid is coming online. So these politicians are just blowing the shit out of other countries, doing everything they can to keep you distracted from what's happening right around you, and no one's talking about it.
No, and we've never been more disconnected than we are now. This is another theme you and I have talked about, and we tried to talk solutions, and you've been involved over the years in some, in some very good solutions. You've been involved in some very good ideas, and sadly, some of those ideas, they do okay, they get some traction, but then I won't say they fall away by the wayside. I'm in no way criticising you now, Max, but I think that there's never been as much of a disconnect between people as there is now. Narcissism reigns. Individualism reigns, right? People don't want to get together and stand up to, for example, somebody doesn't want a smart meter and they're being told you have to have one. And the energy company comes along and says, well, whether you like it or not, we're taking away the old meter and we're installing the smart one. Where are the neighbours and the local people to come along and stand there and say, well, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing it. It's not happening, Max. I was criticised some shows ago for ranting about people not doing stuff. Somebody said to me, what have you ever done, Richie? And I said, well, it begins with the individual. I've faced down Manchester City Council. I did it very publicly. I did it through the programme. I've got the phone calls to prove it and told them to go away. They wouldn't be getting any more money out of me. I don't pay the BBC television licence. And when they threatened me with it, I told them to go and take a run and jump. I wouldn't do it. I will not do it. And I will stand alongside anybody else in my immediate neighbourhood who doesn't want to do that either. I really do believe it's the little things, Max. You've spoken about this for years. People keep thinking, oh, it's too big. Oh, we can't do anything. What can we do? And they keep saying, oh, we've got to have a march and we've got to have people lead it. And I say, Max, and I'm going to shut up and let you answer this. I say, do individual things. Do little things for yourself and watch how the energy created by that, the example shown by that, how it spreads out and how other people say, well, Jesus, he stood up to them and he didn't go to prison. They didn't take his car away from him. They didn't break into his house. That's what I would say. Go ahead.
Well, look, it's true. That's what people should do. I mean, I said on my very first show, on my very first interview 10 years ago, that the most important thing we can do is put common unity back in community. Get to know your neighbours, get to know the people around you, because you all need to stand together. Because when they come for some guy, you all need to be able to stand out there helping them, because they're going to be coming for you as well. But that's the thing, people wait until they see someone stand and say, oh, he didn't lose his car and stuff. But he will lose his car. He will lose everything. They will hammer the shit out of him because you wouldn't stand with him to begin with. And they do that just so that you won't stand up. And if you'd stood up to begin with, then it would work. And, everything I've tried to do, it's failed because it involves people actually getting involved. I start a project and everyone goes, wow, this is a great idea, Max. We'll hold your coat while you go and save the world. It doesn't work like that. People have to do it for themselves. I can create the infrastructure. I can give you all the encouragement you need. But if you're not prepared to stand up yourself, then I can't stand up for you. I can only stand up for me, and that's what I do. That's what I spend my life doing. I travel around the world speaking to everybody that I can and trying to create as much movement as I can everywhere I go. And I do everything. I just don't do anything but work. That's all I do is either sit here at this computer and work, or I'm out there lecturing or touring or speaking or doing something, So, people have to get involved on the ground. That's the only thing that's going to make a difference. And they've got to realize the power that they do have and the power that they have to hold their employees accountable. I mean, who has ever gone up to Theresa May and asked her if she could please explain why she shouldn't be charged with abuse of office? Who's ever asked her that? All this legislation they put out, we know you can give them the meters, the stuff on the smart meters, give them the pamphlets on the health damage and say, listen, here's the health damage that they do. And if this is legislated that this has got to come on my home, then you're a police officer. You'd show me why I can't charge this woman with abuse of office, because I can't come to your home and put some electromagnetic device on your home, a surveillance device on your home. If we're going to have any sort of surveillance system in this country, well, after all the wars that these politicians manufacture, that's fine. Let's start off putting surveillance in every single room in Parliament House and in every politician's home, and let's hear what these people are up to. And then we will decide if we'll allow them to surveil the rest of society. Because if you look at the world, these people seem to be creating wars and criminality all over the place. Why hasn't anyone ever said that to these people? You come at us with your legislation and you say these smart meters are valid and I have to do what you say. Well, hang on a minute. According to your legislation, you appear to be a criminal anyway. So let's discuss the validity of you even sitting in that chair and saying you can inflict this shit on me. Who's ever said that to these politicians? Stand up for yourselves, people. Ask these people to hold themselves, to explain themselves, and ask for a little bit of accountability for these people. Ask Theresa May to ask why she should not be held in abusive office. You pig of a woman, you warmongering, treacherous, treasonous wench of a woman. How dare you lead your country into this manufactured conflict, onto this bullshit gas attack? How many times are you going to say this and expect the people to believe it? Why don't people say this, Richie? What is wrong with people? Is it the fluoride? Is it the television? I mean, shit, folks, wake up to yourselves. Your government wants to kill you and you're not doing anything about it. Stand up for yourselves.
One of the things that would be very interesting to see, I think it is inevitable that these people are going to authorise the use of Tomahawk missiles or whatever, cruise missiles in Syria. Now, that's against the law. It's against international law. There are laws, regardless of how ridiculous they are and regardless of who made them. Wouldn't it be interesting? I've thought about this a lot in the last week or so. If a lot of people were to contact Westminster Police Station and to report a crime. Now, I'm not saying anything would come of it, but symbolically to report a crime and to ask for a crime number. Because when a member of the public reports a crime, they are given a crime number. Now, Westminster Police Station, if a lot of people were to ring them, they wouldn't be able very easily to tell people to piss off or we're not interested or don't be wasting our time. I'd be interested in that. I mean, when Theresa May was Home Secretary some years ago, she very publicly broke the law and got away with it. Now, she broke a very serious law. She broke the law that's called perverting the course of justice. She deliberately appointed 2 people in a row to head up the child abuse inquiry, people that were connected to people that were accused of child abuse. So it was a stitch up. Now this was absolute corruption of the highest order. And I remember at the time tweeting Westminster Police Office. But what I didn't do was I didn't phone them up at the time, and I kind of regret that I didn't do it now, Max, to say I would like to report, and don't call her the Prime Minister. Don't call her anything. Call her Theresa May. This woman has put 2 people in charge of the child abuse inquiry. She knows that these people are ringers because they're connected to people like Leon Britton and others. That is an obvious attempt to screw the inquiry, basically. Therefore, you need to interview her under caution. Her rights need to be read to her and she needs to be interviewed. And I regret that I didn't do it. And I wonder in a couple of days' time if thousands of people... Screw these petitions, Max. These petitions online are a waste of time. Phone Westminster Police Station.
Petitions.
A waste of time.
Yeah, petitions are a joke.
A joke.
Petitions are a joke. You're asking them to please be a nicer slave master and please do the right thing. You know, they don't listen to you. They don't care what you write in a petition. Yeah, do that. Ring her up. Ring up the police and say you'd like to report a crime. The illegal use of these weapons. And look, think about it as well. Like they think there's been a gas attack in Syria. So what's their solution? To go and send missiles in there and blow up more civilians in Syria to protect them from the gas attacks. What is this all about? You know, Theresa May needs to send a missile directly overhead and bring it down on number 10 Downing Street while they're all in there having their meeting. Do the country a favour and wipe her gene pool out. That's what she needs to do for the country. She's unbelievable, that woman. She's a criminal, and people need to call her out for what she is. Yeah, ring her up. Bring up the office. Ring up the police and say you want to report a crime. Theresa May. She's using these missiles. It's illegal. It's a war crime. And by the way, police officer, she's a war criminal anyway. She's supporting the war crimes of Israel, which is in brief with the Fourth Geneva Convention. Therefore, she's a war criminal. She has no right to hold the position that she holds. We'd like to have her removed from office and charged. People need to do that. They need to do that with the entire political system. Every politician in there that's supporting this farce needs to be charged for what they're doing. In every country, they really do. All these governments, they all collude together. They all work together. It's all one big crime gang. You know, it's not even government. It's a criminal class, Richie. It's a one global organism, and they all work together. They're all part of the same club. They all make these plans, and they have these theatre wars. They never get hurt. All the people do. They blow up each other's countries and say, gee, look, we're at war now. Like I said, they never blow up the government buildings. You won't see the Kremlin bombing the White House or the White House bombing the Kremlin. You know, they'll go and bomb Syria and say, oh, we're at war with Russia. Rubbish. It's a sideshow for Greater Israel. That's all that is. They're all at one big criminal family, and they get away with what they do because we don't call it. And now they're rolling out this smart system and this whole IoT, and this is the end game. And people just aren't dealing with it. They're saying, oh, this is great. I'll get faster downloads.
You don't know about it, though, Max.
To what's going on.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a very quick break. Hold that thought. They just don't know about it because it doesn't matter how professional, it doesn't matter how dedicated, independent content creators and journalists are. It's very difficult for those independent journalists to get their point of view out to larger numbers of people because of the very systems we're talking about. Hold on to that thought, Max. We'll take a very quick break, then we'll come back, and Max will be spending another 20 minutes in our company. He's in the Netherlands today. Great to have Max Igan back on the programme. Serious stuff. And just before I take that break, I won't break the law. I was going to suggest, not for a stunt either, I was going to suggest maybe ringing the Westminster Police Station in the event that May authorises the use of weapons. But I could ring them any day to report the perversion of the course of justice anyway. But that would be seen as a stunt, and it's not right to be ringing people and putting them live on air. But what I will do is make a phone call to Westminster Police Station and record it, not do it live, and put it to them. Listen. And I'd be interested in doing that, so long as a lot of other people did it as well, in the event that they do launch these weapons against Damascus, which I think is inevitable anyway. Very quick break, back in a minute with more from Max Igan.
Have you lost access to important data from a computer hard drive, mobile phone, or other storage device? Maybe you have a broken hard drive containing years of information, or a smartphone that no longer works from which you'd like the pictures, movies, and chats recovered. If you would like to recover data from any type of digital device, including desktop and laptop computers, external hard drives, cameras, smartphones, NAS, and RAID servers, then contact Data Clinic today at dataclinic.co.uk now.
There's a place high in the mountains of Spain, a sanctuary where souls gather from all around the globe to learn about themselves and experience powerful changes in the way we see our world. They become awakened to their gifts and their power to heal others. Become part of this ever-growing worldwide family of unique, pure energy healing practitioners. Discover how amazing you truly are. Go to www.markbayerski.com. It could just change your life forever.
Introducing the H2O app, a powerful water structuring application that programs vibrational energies into water through the use of different sound frequencies. Once programmed, the use of water for drinking, cooking, bathing. Give it to your friends and colleagues or spread it around the garden. The list goes on. It's not just water that the app can be used for either. It's great for programming crystals too. The H2O app is free to download and is available on both Android and Apple platforms. For further information, go to h2oapp.online.
The Richie Allen Show relies on your support. Go to richieallen.co.uk and set up a monthly donation today.
Welcome back. Max Igan is live on the line. Well, it's live as we do it this afternoon. It's just after 5 p.m. UK time. You might be listening to the 7 p.m. version of the programme. I'd forgotten all about an engagement that I'd agreed to attend with the future Mrs. Allen to do with her company. So I'm away if you're listening to this at 7. If you're listening to it live, I'm here. That's very confusing madness, isn't it? On that, if you know anybody, because this isn't an original idea to report these people for breaking the law. I'm sure people have phoned the police in the past to report the conduct of people like Tony Blair and others. But reporting a crime in the UK is fairly straightforward. My next door neighbour was broken into some months ago, and I was there with her when the police came along. You ring the police, you allege a crime has been committed, One has, because your window has been broken into and you've had some jewellery stolen, but you don't know who it is. So you tell them who it is, they give you a crime number. So this is your crime number, and they give you, or they undertake, a commitment to investigating the crime. It is to my regret, because I covered it as much or more than anybody else when May put Fiona Wolf and Elizabeth Butler Sloss in charge of the child abuse inquiry, knowing full fucking well that both of those women had intimate ties to people who were accused of child abuse. That would put anybody else in very serious beer. You would be in very serious beer with the law. But she got away with it. Well, she was promoted to Prime Minister, effectively. Max Igan is on the line live from the Netherlands. Check out thecrowhouse.com. You know what, Max? Just for the hell of it, I'm gonna ask people to join me Please God, something will happen that maybe there won't be any weapons fired at Damascus. It's unlikely. But if it happens, I'm going to ask. I'm going to present myself to the Westminster Police. You've got to give them your name, your address. You've got to give them your phone number. You've got to play their game. But report her. I mean, at the moment, brimstone and damnation, as I mentioned earlier on, is raining down on people in Yemen. That is a monumental crime. May is giving weapons to the Saudis, knowing full well the Saudis are breaching human rights law in dropping them on civilians and in civilian areas. Therefore, May and her government is culpable for the deaths of nearly, they reckon, 250,000 people in Yemen. I think it might be time to start ringing the police in a good way, in a professional way, in a proper way, to say, look, we're not going to put up with this anymore. So give us the crime number. Go ahead, Max.
Well, absolutely. People need to do this. I mean, these people are war criminals. They're supporting war crimes. They're carrying out war crimes themselves. It's disgraceful. And even in my country, Malcolm Turnbull just announced they're going to start major weapons manufacture in Australia. I want to turn it into a major arms producer. So then it's going to be in Australia's best interest to, make sure conflicts continue everywhere as well. So all of these politicians, and people need to do it. They need to start reporting these people for the crimes they commit. Call up your police and say, well, I want to report a crime. And just go right through the whole thing and then say the name at the end. Outline what the crime is and what you want to report, and then say the name. I want to report blah, 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 blah. This is going on, and the name is Theresa May, and I'd like her to be arrested or investigated. And I'd like you to get back to me on how the investigation's going. Blah, blah, blah.
That's really proper. And I would say to anybody listening to this program, and I mean this, don't threaten these people. Don't use foul language. Don't tweet things about them. And if you see them in the street, don't physically challenge any of these people. Don't do that. Don't play their game. Violence begets violence begets violence. It's wrong. Don't do it. Do it properly. If you feel that an elected official has committed a crime, ring their local police station and rationally and calmly give them some information and leave it up to them. Max hit the nail on the head there. I would like this to be investigated and see how far you get with it. I know some of our listeners will be laughing at this. What a waste of time, Richie. It won't happen. But it's not going to cost you more than a phone call.
Absolutely. And if you record it as well, if you record a copy of what happened and document what happened, well, say, well, if that person ever enacts legislation that comes to you, will say, hang on, I've already actually reported this person for committing crimes already, and now this person is believing they can inflict themselves upon me via this legislation. Have you investigated the crime that I reported them committing? Because they appear to be a criminal. And how is it allowed for criminals to be able to control other people? This isn't committed. This isn't permitted. I mean, basically what we have a legal system for is to prevent the causation of harm and to make sure there is remedy when that harm is caused. And the government is causing harm against me by enacting this legislation and inflicting it upon me. In fact, by rolling these smart meters out, because of the health damage they are doing, which is well shown, here's all the studies to show you the health damage it does, the government is in fact causing harm by enacting legislation which requires me to have this damaging thing on my home, this thing that is going to cause me health issues. This is not what we employ these people to do. So even by you coming here and believing you can inflict this smart meter upon me via legislation, you are causing harm. You are therefore committing a crime. Therefore, you're an abuse of the office that you hold, and I would like to have you questioned. This is a basic, prerequisite of even having a society, of even having a legal system. That's what we created a legal system for, is to prevent and provide remedy in the event of the causation of harm. That's what we have law for. So if there's any harm being caused, then there must be a guilty party here, and it appears that the guilty party is government via this legislation. So let's talk about this. People need to take this approach and ask these people the right questions in the right way, because they're just people. Like I said, I can't come to you and do harm to you and get away with it. You'll take action against me, yet a politician can come to you and cause harm against you and nobody says anything. They say, oh, gee, you have to do it. I have to allow this harm to be caused against me because you wrote it down on paper. Really? It's a paper-based reality, is it? Well, we come back to that. We come back to the 4th Geneva Convention, this piece of paper which says you're a war criminal anyway. So let's discuss the validity of you even being there to discuss whether this legislation is even valid, if it's going to be a paper-based reality, or we can bring it back to natural law and the causation of harm, which you are doing and need to be held accountable for. You know, it's pretty logical, Richie.
It's logical. It is logical, but we're living in a world where a guy in Washington, D.C. can send a tweet out, the likes of which the President of the United States tweeted earlier this morning. Staggering. You know, basically threatening that, we're going to start firing missiles. I mean, this is unprecedented. I'm not saying that, previous presidents, of course, they've all been doing it. But it's so blatant and so in your face. You have a president now saying, the missiles are coming, laughing about it, gleefully laughing about sending death and destruction to thousands of innocent people overseas who never raised a finger against the United States or never threatened anybody. And this is the reality. And the media is reporting it. It's cheerleading it, in fact. It's not reporting it. The media is demanding it. I put an article on my website yesterday, and underneath the article, I put 24 screen grabs of newspaper articles from The Guardian, The Mail, The Chicago Tribune, The New York Times, The USA Today, and all the rest of them, where you have talking heads demanding that this happens in Syria, demanding it. And at the same time this is going on, independent media content creators who are asking questions about this, some of those content creators are doing a better job in terms of their technical ability. They're producing a better product than the mainstream media is, but they're having their reach limited time and time again. They're having their YouTube channels deleted, or they're finding that when they post stuff on social media, nobody is seeing it. And what do you do about it? What can we, or we shouldn't speak as a we. We're all individuals. What can individuals do about that?
Well, what we're doing, Richie, the best thing we can do is keep putting information out there. And if you do see any rallies or any meetings or anything like that happening in the street or whatever, and there is some protest against whatever, go and participate in as much as go and talk to the organisers and get up to be one of the speakers at the end of the rally and say something real to these people that they actually need to hear and motivate them into action. Get the word out to people that way. I mean, of course, you can't do it in London anymore, can you? Didn't they ban the talks at Speaker's Corner at Hyde Park? Did they? I think they canned that. You can't even get up at Speaker's Corner anymore and have your piece for 15 minutes.
So, yes, people have been prevented from speaking based on the fact that what they say might cause harm to a third party without even having any real understanding of what it is the person is going to say.
Well, people don't understand what harm is. They don't understand what harm is being caused, because this whole system is causing harm against the populace. And if you're telling me I can't speak about that, then because it may offend someone, then you are causing harm by even saying that. How dare these police and these politicians think they can do this? How dare a police officer come up and believe he can limit your freedom of speech because he believes it may hurt somebody else, when what you're doing is trying to prevent the causation of harm against society by corrupt politicians. He should listen to what you're saying and do his job, or else he should be held accountable for causing harm as well by preventing you from ever dealing with this situation. All these police officers need to wake up to themselves and start doing their job properly. Because none of them are doing the right thing. They're all too preoccupied with enforcing law and obeying legislation rather than preventing the causation of harm.
But to be fair to them, Max,
employ a police force for.
To be fair to them, to put their side of it across, I know one or two policemen and women in this city, and we've reported on how policing has been decimated by underfunding by governments. By successive governments in this country. They're closing police stations all around the country. And when we grew up, now I didn't grow up in the UK, I grew up in the Republic of Ireland, but we had policemen on the beat. We had policemen and women on the beat, and they knew the community and they knew people. We don't have any of that. We have less police. We have police stations closing, and God love the police officers that we do have. I'm not saying they're all angels, but most of them are decent. What you find is they go and attend to an incident, then they've got to go back to base where they spend hours filling out documentation and paperwork, sometimes in triplicate, so they're not on the beat. That's not to contradict what you're saying, but it's just the reality. Let me read you two tweets that have come in, Max. Two tweets before you go ahead.
But that's what they do to cops. They make sure that they're completely disconnected and dysfunctional as well. They create that environment for them so they can't really function as police officers, But then they did. It's all done by design, Richie. The whole thing's done by design. Absolutely. Of course, you don't get that in Australia. They move cops around everywhere from local communities, so the cops in your community are never local guys. And if you ever get too friendly with the community, 3 or 4 months later, they move them on to another community. They do that in Australia now, so you never develop a relationship with them. But anyway, go on.
And again, that's deliberate. I agree with that. Cartoon Drunk is laughing at our suggestion that when a leader or when a minister allegedly commits a crime that you report it. He says they would laugh at you at the charge desk at your local police station, and like all crime accusations, they go through the accuser's criminal or non-criminal record before they even start to investigate anything you claim to have happened. Now, he's right to say that last part, because of the lack of numbers, because of the lack of resources. Somebody might say, well, some junior minister who went on a fact-finding mission to Saudi Arabia, but in fact he was over there lobbying for arms manufacturers. But this guy doesn't have a criminal record, so therefore we're not going to investigate. He makes a point there. I would do it anyway because it doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. And Elizabeth, thanks for tuning in. Nice to hear from you again. Tell you what, Max, it's your presence, my friend. Book them and they will come. I thought I'd be struggling recording this today because I did it with such short notice before the live show tonight, but we have a very healthy listenership this afternoon. Elizabeth says, ask Max about the Department for Homeland Security in America, their media monitoring plan. They put out to tender, they want to contract a company to track more than 290,000 global news sources, as well as social media in over 100 languages, Arabic, Chinese, Russian and many more, for instant translation into English. The successful contracting company, says the Department for Homeland Security, will have 24/7 access to a password-protected media influencer database, including journalists, editors, correspondents, social media influencers, bloggers, etc. It's Big Brother on steroids. And Elizabeth says, what does Max think of that?
Absolutely, Big Brother on steroids. You know how they can track everything. This will be every news source they can find, every independent news source. And you'll find that words will get blacklisted. They'll probably be able to change articles, remove words, whatever. You know, it's instant censorship. You'll have algorithms that will just instantly censor anything you want to post to anything that is even considered to be any type of news source. Now, if it isn't approved by the algorithm, then it will get deleted or blocked or blacklisted or whatever. This is Big Brother on steroids, absolutely. The Department of Homeland Security, there to keep you safe, of course. You know, that's why they need to get tabs on it all. Rubbish, we shouldn't let these people be doing this. You know, but the whole thing, like I said, it's going to be run by algorithms. The whole thing is going to be run by algorithms. Once they've got all these things in place where they can just monitor all these sources, it'll be the algorithms that control and dictate. You know, as this whole AI system comes online, government will become more and more obsolete. We won't even need these people. They'll just be figureheads that sit at the top and make the decision of which country we should go and bomb and which children we should traffic and whatever that they do behind the scenes. That's all they'll really need to do.
No human involvement, Max. No human involvement. The artificial intelligence program makes the decision that some place needs to be bombed, and that program sends a message to the AI-controlled drones which will go and do it, and there is no human decision making whatsoever, right? Possibly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could get to that point, but it'll get to that point within society very much. I mean, because the police won't know who they're arresting. They'll just think, the AI has told them that this guy's an undesirable and we need to go and take him off the streets because he's become a danger to society. He's depleted his social credits to the point that we believe that he's a danger. He may commit a terrorist act soon, an act of violence, because we've ostracized him so much he really hasn't got a choice. He's going to have to steal something soon, so we may as well go and arrest him now. You know, the AI will just determine who needs to be arrested and what they need to be charged with. There won't even need to be any trial or anything. It'll just be, you've depleted your social credits, you're blacklisted to the point that you can't do anything, so we need to put you into this smart prison to keep you safe for your own safety.
Let me back up what you're saying, by the way, because digitaltrends.com, which is a major techie website, has reported today a guy called John R. Quain, and I think this was picked up by the Daily Mail today. Crime predicting artificial intelligence isn't science fiction. It's about to roll out in India. Artificial intelligence programs promise to do everything from predicting the weather to piloting autonomous cars and drones and all of that. But now it's going to be turned into Minority Report style pre-crime pre-crime detecting. And this is going to be rolled out in India through a company called Cortica, which is an Israeli company. Jesus, you could have knocked me down with a feather, Max.
Yeah, I was reading another article on India actually this morning. I can't remember what it was about, but they're really rolling the smart grid out in India actually faster than a lot of other places. You wouldn't think it. I mean, in little India over there, I think everyone thinks of, bicycles and people and busy streets and, bad electricity and all sort of weird power lines hanging everywhere. But actually, they're rolling the smart grid out really, really fast. India and China are kind of leading the way with this, and Australia is probably leading a pretty close third to both of those countries.
And what this is, just to, Max has been talking about this, for the best part of, for several years now, to be fair to Max. But what it is, these cameras, these special cameras developed in Israel, they will use facial recognition software, of course, but they're going to be looking for behavioural anomalies. And they're going to be programmed, of course. This will all, eventually these will become smart and intelligent, and they won't need to be inputted by humans, and they will be watching people's behaviour, and if they think somebody's going to commit a crime of any sort, they will then send a message to presumably a police car, where the human being then will go along and will confront the person that the camera has said, I think this person is going to commit a crime. The camera being intelligent and ultimately self-developing word, will increase its own intelligence, acting autonomously outside of human control. It's mad, and Mad Max. Do you know what's really mad about it is that I know people listen to programs like this, and I know they shake their heads and they say this is just fear mongering, crazy bullshit. Max Igan there and the presenter, it's all garbage. It isn't. It's happening right now, today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, not 6 years or 10 years down the road. They're using these in India today.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're using them in India today. They're using the facial recognition glasses in China now. They're using social crediting in China now. Everything's going over to digital. China's creating its own cryptocurrency. I mean, it's all going over this way. It's all going smart. You look at the papers that they're rolling out. The IoT, England has just put 53 million pounds they put towards the rollout of the IoT and 5G.
Yeah. They
want to get this rolled out really quickly. Of course, they won't put 53 cents towards the rollout of blankets for the homeless, but they'll make sure that every 8 houses in 10 has to have a smart meter on their home, because they need that. They need the surveillance system in place. They want to be able to track everything and everybody and everything everybody does. That's what it's all about. And we can't let them do this, because this is the end game. This is what it's been about all along. All the other stuff has been theatre. And so much of what they've done has been theatre as well. I mean, even 9/11, when you look at 9/11, they made that so obvious because they wanted to create the truth movement. 9/11 saw the beginning of the truth movement, and it saw everyone start speaking out about government corruption. So then they've got tabs on everybody, so they know exactly who's going to be on the credit list and who isn't. They've got everybody's tabs on everybody's Facebook posts, everything everybody's watched, every comment they've ever made. All of it has been collected ever since 9/11, and that's what 9/11 was for. It was to weed out everybody. It was just going fishing. That's why they made it so obvious, because they wanted to know who'd get it. And that's why they let people like Alex Jones go out there and just push it and push it and push it. Alex has taken a bit of a backflip on Trump now. He's suggesting that he thinks Trump might be a globalist. A little bit late there, aren't you, Alex?
Yeah.
He must be trying to regain some credibility since he's been pushing him for the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know how he could possibly be that blind. But it's all been about this whole smart grid all along. It's all been leading to this point, and now it's rolling out. We have a decision whether we're going to allow this to continue or whether we're going to hold these politicians accountable. And the only way we're going to defeat this system is to realise that the world's run by criminals, and we can call them that because that's what they are. Just call them out for what they are, folks. Don't beat around the bush. Name them for what they are. The last radio show I put out was called "Your Government is a Terrorist," and it just went through the whole system. This whole system is based on social terrorism. Everything. The education system, the whole fear-based system that we've got, anything that we are required to do under fear of punishment, this is terrorism by definition. And this whole system is based on it. It's ingrained into us since childbirth. It's ingrained into us through the scholastic system, through everything that we do. Now, we don't do anything because we want to do it, because we want to learn, because we want to be a better person. We do it because we're afraid to do otherwise, because we'll get punished if we think outside the box. And it's about to be taken to the next level with this smart system. This is going to curtail all form of human expression completely. Now, you won't be able to think anything or create anything or do anything that the government doesn't approve of, and that is no way to live a life. And we can't allow it to happen. So we have to factor into everything the reality that the world is run by criminals, and that is what has caused this problem. And it's going to continue until we name that for what they are. You know, Theresa May is a criminal. People should just walk straight up to her and say, hey, listen, you're a criminal. We don't have to do what you say. You're in abusive office, and we want you charged. We want you pulled down and charged for your crimes because you're a criminal. Exhibit A, the earth. Not the fact, you know, just not even the fact that you're supporting the war crimes of Israel. You want to go and bomb children in Syria because of this gas attack. You know, you think the solution is killing more people. You know, you're a warmongering liar. You're in abusive office. You're inflicting legislation upon us that we don't want, bringing in a smart system we don't want. This is not what we employ you to do. Go away. That's what people need to do. Call these criminals out for what they are. This is one big, happy criminal family running this world because we don't call it. You know, we get all this national rubbish in the way, think it's about England or it's about America or it's about China or it's about Russia or whatever. They all work together, folks. They're all part of the same club. Absolutely, they don't care about you. They're all rolling out the same system because we will not step back and look at it for what it is. And it's about time we did it, Richie.
100%. Max, that's a brilliant way to leave it. We're just about out of time. Thanks so much for coming on today, short notice as well. Really interesting stuff there. Really thought-provoking stuff, solution-based things. I really appreciate that. Go to thecrowhouse.com, folks. Check Max out on YouTube. There are links on thecrowhouse.com. He puts out several programs a week and writings that are very much worth your while to check out. Just very briefly, in the 25-30 seconds we have left, you're in the Netherlands. You might be spending a bit of time in Spain. I know you're coming to the UK in the summer, Max.
Yeah, I'll be speaking at AB8 or AB9 in UK. That's in the Midlands around about May 4th to May 8th, I think. Speaking of YouTube, did you get a YouTube channel back? Because you got deleted. What's going on with that?
What we did, because so many people tend to prefer to get the stuff on YouTube, we just opened a new channel. They refused to reinstate the other one, so we just have a new one. Send
me a link to this when you get it posted. Link your new channel to BitChute, Richie, because then all your videos will remain on BitChute.
Yeah, we're looking into that too, Max. Cheers,
if
mate.
If they delete your channel, everything you've uploaded will remain there. Good to talk to you anyway, brother.
Always a pleasure, mate. And we look forward to seeing you in the UK real soon. Thanks for that. The terrific Max Egan. Check out thecrowhouse.com. Go and see Max if he's anywhere near you, in a town near you, because, like I said, it'll be well worth your while. Cheers to Max for that.